Hello, welcome to Godfather Barbecue and Italian. It's Thursday night, 9:25 p.m. And everybody knows what Sunday is. Well, maybe depending on when you're watching this video, you know. Oh, while I'm at it, please subscribe, turn your notifications on, and share. I always forget to ask, but it helps us tremendously with placement and whatnot. And we want to be able to continue to do more and more videos, so we need more views and more subscribers. Would be awesome. Appreciate it. So 9:30 Thursday night, Super Bowl Sunday is Sunday. So I'm gonna start now because we've got 50 or 60 people coming. It's gonna be a big event. I'm gonna do pulled pork, brisket, and I'm gonna video most of this stuff. But I'm gonna do between today and tomorrow. We're gonna do as much of the prep and everything else, coordinating as we can, so Sunday can kind of just cruise, hopefully. But tonight, I'm going to do an overnight pulled pork or smoked pork butt on my Rectech. It's going to be low and slow. I'm going to put it in. I'm going to season this up, show you how we do that, tell you what we're dealing with here as far as the type of pork shoulder. Run it at 200 degrees. It's gonna probably go about 8 hours. I got total of 15 pounds. I'm only doing one of them because we've got so much other food. So these are 7.5 pounds a piece exactly. They came in one pack, so that was kind of nice. These are boneless. So anyway, back to the cook. It's gonna be 200 degrees for about the first 8 hours, and that should put me. I'm gonna plan on putting them in about midnight. And that should put me at about 8 a.m. I'll crank the smoker up to 220, and that'll be great. These are going to be no wrap. I'm going to run all the way through right till they hit. When you smoke them slow and low, you don't have to bring them to 200, 190. As soon as they're probe tender, time and degree and temperature are just an assistance here. They're not. It's not the law. It's not fact. It's whenever it starts probing tender, which usually at 200 degrees will be about 190 internal temperature. So I'll leave a probe in there as well. Back to the meat. So we've got two boneless pork shoulders, pork butts, which I like in one way, and I do like having the bone in. Don't ask me why. I'm used to cooking with them that way. So I'm going to take the other 7.5 pounds. I'm going to cut that up for a sausage, and we'll vacuum seal it, and I'll freeze it for when I'm going to make more sausage. But the benefit of the boneless one is when they cut it out, they kind of separate this part here. So as far as when you season them with your rubs, you can get in there and whatnot. And then I'm going to tie it all back. You don't have to tie it if you don't have butcher twine or you don't like using it or don't know how. I mean, it's very simple. I'll show you. But you don't have to. Just get it as tight as you can. You'd have to cook it fat cap up. In this case, I want to cook it fat cap down because the heat source of the pellet grill comes from underneath, and I want to protect the meat so it doesn't burn. Even though it's at 200, give it a long enough time, and it could dry out if you don't cook it fat cap down. That's on a pellet smoker. If you're using an offset or a ceramic or anything like that, your heat flows from above. Then you want to cook it fat cap up. If you're going to do a long, low, and slow. You can do these hot and fast. You can do them traditional. Tonight is going to be low and slow. It's going to be an overnight pulled pork. It's going to be great. You're going to go to sleep, get up in the morning, run. No wrap, no wait for 165. It's going to push right through the stall. And I'm thinking by about noontime tomorrow, in around that range, again, when it's probe tender, will be done. So as far as the way we're going to season them, very simple. I'm not using a binder. These are pretty tacky, which is nice. I'm going to start, as I usually do with big pieces of meat, with Cosmos SPG. And again, this happens to be Cosmos. I like it a lot. You can use your own kosher salt and 16 mesh black pepper if you can find it. If not, any coarse black pepper and some granulated garlic. You can make your own. Just quicker and easier for me to use this. So I'm going to start in the middle here. Now, if you're cooking a bone in, and you're cooking it bone side down, you're going to start with the fat cap up because you want to end with that down. But I want to be able to get inside here with the initial seasoning, or rub rather. So I'm going to take care of this first. This is great because, and even when we pull it, and I'll get into that as we get near that point. When we pull it, it'll get another dose of rub as well. So we'll make sure we get it seasoned well, okay? So that, there, I'm gonna go ahead and just tie this up now. I've got two pieces of butcher cord, just gonna come underneath. Tie it over here, and I'm not going to fully tie it until I get the other one on. I want to make sure it's even. Make sure you get it all the way under there. Perfect. Bring it down here. Don't worry about it being pretty, it's just keep it tight and hold together. That'll just give you a more even cook, you won't have anything drying out. Okay, now I'll continue with the seasoning. SPG, salt, pepper, garlic, get your sides. To the bottom of the fat cap here. Good coat. This is thick piece of meat, will handle it. Won't be too salty, I promise you that. And this is Holy Gospel, Holy Gospel from Meat Church. This is kind of sugar forward, so you get the sweetness, and it's not too salty. So you almost really need to use a salt-based rub, whether it's SPG or any other type of your favorite rub that's salt heavy. This is going to be going back in the fridge for a couple hours before we get it on the smoker. This is going to be great. So back to the cook. So once it comes to that 190 or probing temper, take it off, let it rest for a couple hours. I'm going to pull it but not sauce it. If you want to make it ahead of time, you can. I'm always hesitant to do that with anything other than pork, because pork, especially a butt, will stay moist. You just want to, I have a vacuum sealer, a great thing to invest in. If you don't have one, I will pull it once it's rested, 3-4 hours, let it get to room temperature, vacuum seal it, stick it in the fridge, and that'll stay for 3 to 5 days. I mean, we'll be using it Sunday, tomorrow will be Friday, so it'll only be 2 days. And then I'll slowly bring it back up to temperature in the oven when I cook it in an aluminum pan covered. And after I bring it at 250, maybe take 30 minutes or so, it'll already be pulled. And then add our barbecue sauce and serve it. It'll be that easy, but I'll recap that more towards the end again, so it'll be clear for you. So I'm going to put this in. We'll see in a couple hours before we hit the rack, and we'll throw this on the smoker at that point. See you soon. Hey guys, welcome back. Slight hiccup. It's 3 a.m. When I went out at midnight, realized I didn't have, or there was a possibility of running out of pellets prior to 7 a.m. when the hardware store opens up. So Figured I'd start it a little bit later. I definitely have enough for 4 or 5 hours anyway. I am here up awake by myself. Everybody else is asleep. So I'm going to be putting this on myself, so I won't be able to get a pit shot, but just wanted to show you what we're looking like here. As you can see, it's been in the fridge for a few hours. It's absorbed all that rub. Sweating nice, so it's going to be great. Anyway, I'm going to get it on 200 degrees. Again, we're going to look to do a no wrap. I'll let this roll till about 165 internal, then I'll crank it up to 220, 225, and we'll finish it off then. All right, we'll get back to you soon. Momo's hanging out with me for the cook. She just went outside, did a good girl, huh, honey? Yes. You say hi to everybody? Good morning. She's an early riser. Like some treats. Good girl, honey. Good girl. Say bye-bye. Okay, guys. Back. I do have it on the pit. Just wanted to get that smoke smells unbelievable already. Wanted to get you a picture or a video. On and smelling delicious already. Alright, we'll see you back in a few hours. Alright, guys, we're back out at the smoker. Sitting right at about 160. Take a look at how we're doing here. Smoky. Looking great. Nice bark developing. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this up to 225, and we'll let that finish out, no wrap. I may come back in an hour or so as I turn the heat up, give it a spritz. It's nice now, but I don't want to dry it out, but we should be fine. All right, we'll check back in with you when it's done. All right, guys, so we're 10 hours in, and again, I started this a little late, so just for the sake of time, I'm going to give it the old Texas crutch. I'm going to wrap it in aluminum foil, speed up the cook. It's been stalled right at 156, and that's fine usually if you have the time to push it through, which I would have if I had enough pellets. But at any rate, I've got an event tonight we've got to get to, so I don't want this to interfere with that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this. It's got beautiful color, as you can see, beautiful bark. So technically, it's the right point to wrap if I were going to from the beginning anyway. So won't be any difference in the way this is. So I'm going to double wrap this with some heavy duty aluminum foil. And I crisscross it so that way I get a nice tight seal. Okay, and I'm going to come this way. Looks about like my Christmas present too when I wrap. The world's worst wrapper. As far as gifts go, barbecue we can get down. All right, so that's it. It's going to go back out in the pit. I'm going to stick a probe back in. About 190. I'm going to start probing it for tenderness. Should be perfect. Between 190 and 200. I'm anticipating another 2 hours from here. So we'll see at that point. All right, so we're back. I just pulled it off the smoker. Temping right at 200. I probed it at 195. Still a little resistance. Hit 200. It's probing really tender. I can already tell it smells unbelievable. Just want to recap what we did. So 7.5 pound pork butt. Seasoned it with salt, pepper, garlic. Matt Pittman's Meat Church Gospel, which you'll see the color. It gives a great color. It's got sweetness. Put it in at 200 overnight, even though I didn't start till 4 a.m. Typically, I'd start that at midnight. Hi, Gus. Want to say hi? Momo was on earlier, so I guess we're going to have two of yous in the video. That's dog number 2. So seasoned it, got it on there. Um, it did hit a stall at about 156, 158. I ended up wrapping it for the sake of time. Otherwise, I would have let it go straight through. But it's an option that, as long as you have the right bark, which it did, it's okay to do either way. I like it either way. It's not going to really affect the end difference. You won't have quite as crunchy of a bark, but it'll still be substantial. You'll see when I unwrap it. So the most important part after all of that, so we let it go a few more hours till it temped and it probed. Most important thing we're going to do is right now is the rest. Okay, there's a couple little things. I haven't spritzed this throughout the whole cook because the first of all, if you're using a pellet grill, I mean they typically keep your meats pretty well moist and juicy. But if you did see it start to dry out, whatever, by all means, spritz it if you want. Just don't spritz it too early. But there wasn't a need to here. If you still have a moist top, just leave it alone. Okay. So we're gonna do this. This needs to, before you let it rest, we have to do in the barbecue world what's called a burp. You want to get it. You want to break the cooking cycle, especially if you're wrapped in aluminum foil, even butcher paper, which I do frequently as well. But you can already see in here as I'm starting to unwrap it. This is double wrapped. Um, the juices that have come out, and that's all going to be a great jus to put back in. So back to the rest. The most important thing we're going to do here, aside from the cook, or as important as the cook, is rest. So I want to break this cooking cycle, and I also want to add some stuff to this while it rests to maintain the moisture. And this you can rest anywhere 2 to 4 hours. I'm going to unwrap it, let it breathe a little bit, break that cycle. I'm going to add some butter, a little bit more of the gospel from Meat Church. This is great. Everything they make is great. I'm also going to spritz it prior to putting the rub on to give it a little flavor and adhesion for the butter and the seasoning. I know a lot of people do this when they wrap. I really don't find the need to because I think you get more flavor. But I mean, look at that's about as good as it gets. I mean, come on, man. So back to the what we're going to do here, rest. And you see the juices, and this is perfect because it's not. It's already going to fall apart, but that's exactly what you want. All that's going to go back in when we pull it. So I'm going to give this and focus on the meat side. The fat's on the bottom. So if you happen to have cooked it fat side up, you really want to just focus on the meat part of it at this point, as far as the spritz goes, and even while you're cooking it, because you want that fat to maintain the integrity. You don't want it to get too mushy. This is a blend of 50-50 water and apple cider vinegar. You can use apple juice, you can use water, you can use beer, you can use a mixture of anything. It's the moisture, okay? I just happen to have this on hand. I'm going to come over it with the rub. And this is nice. This will all go, it's kind of like coming apart on me. This is a great sign. But it's not mush, okay? You don't want to overcook these either. I'm going to come across with some good butter. As we say in Boston, butter. Okay. I'm gonna wrap this back up relatively tightly again. Don't worry if the juice is outside one of the foils. It'll all still be there when you're done. Just pour it so it goes underneath. Okay, so that's burping it. That's let the additional cooking heat out, the steam. I'm gonna drop it just so you don't ruin a blanket. I'm gonna drop it into an aluminum pan. Then I'm gonna go ahead and cover it with a blanket. I'm sorry, a towel, beach towel. But use whatever you have. If you have a moving blanket, that's even better. The heavier, the better. And it's already between the two aluminum scenarios here pretty well wrapped, so you don't have to go make sure it's super sealed tight. But if you can find a way just to make sure we can get over on the other side and have a way to kind of snug it in. So it's completely covered. That'll just help it stay warm longer. I'm going out. I may not get to this till for another 3 or 4 hours. So I'll let that rest just like that. That'll take on the texture of the additional butter rub and spritz in between the jus that's in there. I'm going to shred it right in that pan when I pull it out. I won't sauce it at this point because I'm not having this until Sunday. It's Friday night now for the Super Bowl. So what I'll do is shred it, incorporate everything in there. It'll be plenty juicy. I'll vacuum seal it, or you could even leave it in here if you don't have a vacuum sealer. That's quite all right. It's fine because it's got so much juice in it. You're going to see when we pull it, it's going to be so juicy and tender. It really won't matter. You can get away with it with pork. So we'll see you in about 3 or 4 hours. Okay, we're back. It's been 3 hours. Ready to unwrap and shred. You can see in the pan the juice is just coming out, and it's nice because all that butter is melting in with the additional spritz and rub. Yeah, just need a scissors so I can cut that. String. I'm going to leave everything, all the juices in the pan. Rid of that. Okay, so there's no real rhyme or reason or method when you shred this other than please don't chop it. I like to primarily use, look at the smoke ring in that. Nice. Started to say I like to use, there's that other string. My hands primarily, and get it broken up pretty big. And then I have a couple of forks here depending on how easily it goes. But if I can just get a piece of that, I mean, you can see that smoke ring. Here, this is it, probably. Anybody saying you can't get a smoke ring on a pellet grill should probably come spend a little time here, and we can prove them wrong. The end of this is the money muscle. Again, it's not so prevalent with the boneless because it tends to, as it cooks, shrink up. But it's the other side of where the bone is. That's usually the prime piece, if you will, that people love. But I just like to shred it all into one. I mean, this is it. Look at the juice. It's just, there's that smoke ring again, but you can see the juice is pouring out of this. So you can do it in this manner. You can take yourself a fork. But I'm going to try a piece of this. That transforms you right down south. Reminds me of my times in North Carolina back in the 80s. I'm dating myself, but it's reality. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to wrap this, put it in the fridge. All this moisture will stay in here. Just seal it up good. And when you go to serve it, I'm going to put it in the oven, wrap tightly. I'm not going to sauce it till I'm ready to serve it. If it's going to congeal a little bit when it's in the fridge overnight, and you're going to see like the fat congealed. Don't worry about it. That's the best thing that can happen to it. That's going to help it when it reheats to redistribute that moisture. And if you happen to have overcooked it or have a drier result, you can always add, about a half inch of apple juice around this to the point. But I'm going to put this when I go to serve it back in the oven at 250 for about, at about 20 minutes. I'm going to mix it up and then give it another 10 minutes and check it for temp. But usually about 30 minutes total at 250. Make sure you come in and move it around with some tongs or what have you before the full 30, because otherwise you may dry out the edges. But you'll notice as it heats up, this juice will come back out, and that's going to be awesome. And you're going to be the hit of the neighborhood if you're having a Super Bowl party. And everybody's been waiting on this, so this will be one of the main attractions. And we'll be back to you with a few more dishes we'll be doing before then. Hopefully, I don't know if we're going to be able to get them all up and posted by then, but we'll do our best. Until the next time, thank you. Please subscribe, like, and share. We appreciate it much. Take care.